Good morning. I'm happy to be here this morning. It's a dreary spring morning here, but there's water, which is a good thing in this climate of dryness and drought. And I have my morning coffee, which I know is not really what you're supposed to drink in yoga, but such is life here at mountain time. I'm um, I'm going to focus this morning on uh, the idea of comfort. And I'm just going to start by being uncomfortable, and we're going to work on our toes. And this is our toe lengthening posture. So I'm just putting my sitting back on my toes, on my heels and my toes here. And I'm just allowing myself to press the weight into them at the beginning just to ease myself into the pose. And then I'm eventually going to sit up on my toes and I might move back and forth. And then the object of this in Yin Yoga is to really uh, give your toes some mobility. So it's a challenge and a beautiful one at that. Now, if it's too much for you, you can come forward and go back. So you don't have to feel that you have to stay there through the whole thing. Although the point of this is to feel discomfort. Um, but as I always say, you don't have to feel pain. You shouldn't feel agonizing pain here. Although it is very uncomfortable for me this morning. All right. Very nice. Excellent discomfort to illustrate my point. So I was procrastinating in bed this morning, feeling the comfort of my puppy dog by my side, and I was uh, reading through The Guardian, and I came upon an article about right-wing uh, dissenters in Germany harming democratically elected politicians in Berlin. And one woman was in the library, and someone came up with something very heavy on the back and hit her on the back of the head. Someone else was hospitalized. Another person was accosted by people who were spitting at them and threatening them with violence. And so was some kind of a. So I'm just lifting up here, and I'm going to go back onto my feet, and I'm going to continue talking about these uncomfortable things. And I'm just going to lift my knees up here so that you can imagine that you're stretching the front of your feet and it's uncomfortable. And I'm just breathing here. I'm just going to I'm going to have a nice little back bend here while I'm doing this. And my knees aren't coming up very much because apparently they cannot. And now I'm going to come forward because it's really painful. And then I'm going to go back into it. You might be able to stay in it, but I cannot. Anyway, in Berlin, these politicians are being injured, and the European Union and people involved in the European Union were signing petitions and things about how they wouldn't support this kind of violence, and they didn't support parties that encourage this kind of violence. And I guess the parties were these right-wing parties, and some people were refusing to sign these documents because they didn't want to diss the party itself. They just wanted to diss the individuals. Anyway, I was thinking about this, about how in yoga every morning we get together and we we look for comfort and ease, and we feel very virtuous in doing that. And I was thinking, what if every morning we got together and we thought about the horribleness in the world today, and we thought about discomfort. And we thought, well, what does the discomfort do to us? How does it help us in our yoga find something a little bit different? Like, anyway, I'm being a bit murky here. Now, here I'm just sitting on my toes and I'm forward and I am spreading my hands in front of me so that I'm stretching my toes uncomfortably, and I'm very comfortably stretching the back of my body out. So I have a kind of 2-for-1 stretch here. There. And I'm noticing that my toes, the more I sit with my discomfort, the less discomfort there is. The more I feel a sense of ease. And the more perhaps I'll have balance today, because I will have, my toes will be more mobile. And when I walk, or when I squat, or when I'm doing everyday functional movement, I may have better balance. Anyway, back to my morning reading. I also was reading something that talked about Martin Luther King, how he said the real enemy of change for Black people is the moderate white person who seeks comfort. And they were writing about this in relation to the way the student protests in the US are being organized to involve the police. So these presidents of the universities who've called the police in. At one point in Colombia, the policeman actually discharged a gun inside one of the university buildings, and there have been people who have been badly injured by police. So that reminded me of that Martin Luther King quotation about, is the real challenge to Black liberation the moderate white person who's really interested in comfort and will take comfort over the discomfort of change. All right, now I'm just going to come up. That's very nice movement there. I've just sort of never done that before, but it's very nice. Now I'm just going to slap my feet down behind me. Good. And I'm going to move on to the side of my legs and onto my behind here. And here I'm going to sit on something. I have this special little heart pillow filled with tiny beads that I bought for like $3 in a Japanese store. But it's perfect for underneath my behind to give me a little bit of lift. And I happen to have my strap nearby. And I'm just going to set out my strap in front of me so that I guess I should move my screen back a bit so you can wind it around your feet if you like. There, this is better. Okay. So I was thinking about, in here you can't see it, you can't see me at all. So I'm going to sit right here so you can see me stretching forward on the floor. And I'm just have my feet forward and I'm pulling my toes back. And this isn't really uncomfortable at all. This is actually very comfortable. I feel a lift here in the center of my head. I feel my body, I feel a lovely kind of curvature in my back that's just the ordinary curvature of the spine. And I can hold on to this, or I can tilt forward with a straight back. I'm not tilting forward, I'm not moving with a curved back yet. And I can walk my hands down my shins. Now, if that's not possible, do just hold on to your strap, and you can walk your hands down your strap however much. The point of this is not to compete with anyone else, but to get a sense of your own ease and discomfort in the pose. How comfortable is it? Now, some people have very stiff hips, which is perfectly fine because we spend all our life sitting at a desk or doing things that don't actually work our hips into any kind of movement. So you might be up here, but you can still feel that movement forward, even if it's slight. And then at a certain moment, perhaps right now, you can just bend over your feet and just hold on to the tops of your feet, the sides of your feet, or once again, you may be up here just with your back rounded here in a kind of cow. And when you're breathing, you'll want to feel the breath in your back body moving. It's as though your ribs, your back ribs are an accordion. And we can imagine in our mind's eye that accordion, the ribs are opening out. And as we inhale, our breath is actually expanding our ribs. So in the spaces between our ribs, those interstices, and we are able to breathe as though we are not so much a ribbed body, but a leaf with those veins in between the beautiful green spaces of a leaf. And the leaf itself is very subtle, and our back body that we're breathing into is like a leaf. We're opening it up like a leaf. So I'm thinking about the comfort of those people who refuse to condemn those parties that are advocating violence against democratically elected politicians. And I'm thinking about Martin Luther King's comfortable white people who don't want to go through any discomfort in liberating Blacks. And I'm also thinking about this article I read about the scientist who went to Singapore to the climate meetings in Singapore and became basically clinically depressed. And the Guardian that I was reading today, they are quite certain that the temperature is going above 1.5 degrees. And this politician happened to be living in Mexico. And there it was 47 degrees last summer over a number of days. And the body really can't recover. It's at 36 degrees. The body can't recover when it's 47 degrees. It can't really recover from the heat. And millions of people are dying, basically, because of the climate. So I'm thinking again about what it means to feel comfortable and ease in a world where climate change is so desperately an issue. And now we're going to roll up. So, and now I'm just going to lift back here. Now, because we did it, that was a lovely little forward bend, kind of. Well, it was a forward bend, actually, not just kind of. And I have to get my yellow mat. So I'm just bracing myself here, but you can just put your feet on the floor and your hands behind you. This is just a reverse plank. And I'm just going to lift my body up on my arms. Oh, God, it's quite demanding. Oh. And I'm going to try and talk, or maybe we'll just breathe here for a moment. We won't stay for too long because it's quite hard. All right, and now I'm going to come down. You can stay up if you like. And perhaps we'll do that one more time because What's good for you once is no doubt good for you twice in a row. All right, so I'm putting my feet down again, and I'm lifting my body up and stretching and feeling a really fantastic, uncomfortable feeling. All right, now I'm going to come down, and then I'm going to take my arms, which are now quite sore, and I'm just going to lift them up, and I'm going to stretch them out. And then I'm going to bring them in with one arm on top of the other. Give myself a little hug here. I'm going to walk my hands around my shoulders to really give my shoulders a beautiful stretch. And then I'm going to move my shoulders from one side to the other in my own embrace, because we need comfort and care in the midst of confronting challenges and difficulties. And then I'm opening my arms out, and then I'm bringing them in again, and I am embracing myself again and giving myself some comfort and care. And then I'm opening my arms out again and lifting them up, stretching one side and then another, one side and then another, one side and another. And then I'm pressing my wrists out to the side. And I'm just going to leave my wrists pressing out here. And I'm pulling my fingers back. I'm stretching my fingers and pulling them back. And I can tell you this doesn't feel like ease. It feels like discomfort. I would say it's a good discomfort. And now I'm going to make a fist with my hands and stretch my fingers out. And make a fist with my hands and really hold them tight. And then stretch my fingers out. Fist with my hands, stretching, fist, stretching, fist, stretching, fist, stretching. Now we can imagine two things here. One is that we're flinging off our cares. And the other is that we're making a fist of liberation from our inertia as comfortable white people who are possibly middle class, and trying to figure out how to confront the discomfort of the truth of our present moment. Okay, and I'm just flinging it off. Now I'm going to roll my shoulders around, and I'm going to use my elbows to give myself some actual circumference here. So I'm using my elbows here to really open my chest up. So I'm inhaling here, and then I'm going to exhale because I'm going to bring my shoulders forward, and I'm going to draw my hands down my back. And then I'm going to lift up, stretch my arms up, stretch them out, and bring them down. Good. Now, we're going to come on to our hands and knees here in cat-cow. And I'm moving things away from here. And once again, we feel our back when we are in cat is not ribs anymore, but it is the veins of a leaf blowing in the wind. So we are in cow here. And now we're exhaling in cat, and we're lifting our navel up, and it's a gentle lift because we don't really want too much strain in our body here. We just want to feel the opening in our back body. And we are exhaling here, but also inhaling because we're staying here for a minute. And we're feeling as though those ribs in the back of our body are transformed into the veins of a green leaf. And we're breathing as though our back is supple like a leaf. And now we are sinking our belly down. And we're feeling our chest, our collarbone moving forward. And we're imagining that our spine, our axial spine is actually linked one to the other. We don't have too much of an arch in our head. It's not an unnatural arch. And now we're going to come up slowly again into our leafy cow, our green cow. It's breathing, inhaling and exhaling here into our back body. So it's hard actually. And now we're going to come down again. And we are inhaling. And now we are exhaling. Inhaling. And exhaling. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling. And exhaling. Good. Now we'll just sink back into child's pose, stretching our arms out here. And we are stretching our fingers on the mat. And we're walking them towards the right. And then we are breathing here into our side body. And once again, it's as though our side body is a leaf. Our ribs are opening up like the veins of a green leaf. And we can imagine that they are supple and they're moving. And we're walking back to the center, stretching our fingers and our arms out. And then we're moving towards the side, stretching out. And we're breathing into that side body again. Good. Now we're going to come up and just for a moment, let's go back and sit in our easy pose. You can sit in easy pose or you can put your feet together, whichever you like. All right. I'm just going to, so you sit there for a moment. I just have to I meant to get these mats out and because they're light and then you can see me. Good. So we're sitting here feeling that now you might have, if you're feeling very uncomfortable, you might want to put a block underneath your leg to keep it up if you can't get it down. But we're into our opening and I'm holding onto my toes. This is also good for your toes. You can hold on to your big toe. And then I'm sitting up and feeling that my groin is opening here and my legs are coming down. So, and the more I plant myself in my sits bones and feel myself rising up, the more my legs are moving down. And we're just sitting here for a moment or so. This is a very lovely opening of our legs. Now, if this is too much for you, you could just sit in easy pose, which I will demonstrate like this, and work your legs this way. Or you can have some support underneath so it's not so difficult because you don't want to overstretch your groin. In fact, I do like the principle of the whole body approach to yoga, that we shouldn't feel pain really in one particular place. So for instance, if we're here and we are stretching the inner part of our leg, we should also feel that we are rising up, that we're feeling a good deal of movement in our upper body and a good deal of strength in our upper body, and that we are also pushing into our feet. So we're activating our feet And we're not just locating the sensation in, for instance, the groin. You don't want to overstretch your groin. And so you can let up when you need to, and then move back into it. This is a very nice position. And I'm still thinking about just the discomfort of the news. So if, as Martin Luther King says, people like me, I don't know that I'm moderate. I guess I'm sort of left moderate, but I'm certainly not. Anyway, so I am perhaps someone who prefers comfort, let's say, although I have been quite active and uncomfortable in my life. But I'm not disavowing my status as a white middle class comfort seeking person. So how is it that I can engage myself to make change and feel the creative discomfort of change? That is my question for this morning. So the notion of sukha and sthira, which are on the one hand strength and the challenge of strength, and the other side of it is ease and comfort. How do we balance those without sliding simply into seeking comfort? And how in our yoga classes can we make space for the discomfort of this present moment in time in history? We kind of blot it out. I use my yoga as an oasis away from being in this moment in history. But how can I incorporate this moment in history in a way that enables me to creatively change? That is my question. Right. Let's leave our legs out. If you want a little bit of rest, you can just shake your legs up and down here. And now I'm going to straddle my legs out a bit. I like to have something underneath my heels because I'm very old and my heels are very, basically all my bones are sore, more or less, bits and pieces of them. Nothing too terrible, but so I'm just sitting up, once again, feeling that I've got, let's imagine that we're engaging our whole body. So from our toes, tip of our toes, we're stretching our heels out, we're pulling our toes back, we're feeling, we're pushing our heels away so that our knees are rising up out of the ground. And we are pushing our heels up so much that our heels almost lift off the ground. And we are feeling also tremendous strength in our thighs, which are really pushing out, pushing out, pushing out, pushing. And I don't know why I'm saying pushing out. It's not really pushing out. I'm stretching my heels out. It's really enlivening my whole leg. And now I'm lifting up here with my collarbone, and I'm feeling my shoulder blades drop down my back, and I'm just sitting, but feeling completely alive and engaged. And this is a beautiful feeling. Now I'm going to start working with arms here so that we raise our arms up, palms together. We lift our shoulders up, and now we're dropping our shoulders down, lifting our shoulders up. But all the time I'm pressing out through my feet. So this is kind of isometric exercise where we're just using our muscles in a very active way, but in a very controlled way too. I'm just dropping my shoulders down and lifting them up, dropping them down my back. Good. Now I'm going to open them out, and then I'm going to bring them in. My right arm is going to come over top of my left, and I'm either going to clasp my shoulders, or I'm going to drop my, I'm going to just grasp my palms here in eagle arm. Once again, stretching out and stretching up. So this is a very simple pose, but it requires tremendous strength, and it requires some concentration and focus. And we're breathing here into our back body, because once again, we have our arms in front. We're lifting our elbows out and up. So this will give you added stretch. So we move them. The further up we move them, the more they stretch. And the further out our elbows go, and the further out the top of our arms go, the better. And now we're just going to open our arms out once again. And wrap our arms around our body. Give ourselves a nice hug here. Walk our fingers over towards our spine. So give ourselves a really nice stretch here. We'll open our arms up again, and we'll close them up again and walk our hands towards our spine again. And then we'll open them up. Good. And then we're just going to drop them down. And we're going to roll our shoulders around again. Now this time we're going to open our arms out. We're going to bring our left arm underneath. And we're either just going to embrace our shoulders as we were before, or we're going to wind our hands around and clasp the palms of our hands together. And once again, we're going to lift our elbows up, and we're going to draw our hands away from us. So this gives a little bit of added. And once again, I'm just going to remind us to plant your sits bones in the ground. You can lift your collarbone up and press out through your feet. So you're really feeling this as a strengthening position. Because if we're going to make change, we have to be very strong. Good. And now I'm just going to unravel my hands, open them out, and give myself an embrace. I'm just going to flap my arms. They're quite stiff now. I was at the gym yesterday using those wretched machines, trying to get strong. So there. Okay. Good. So we've really done a good job with our legs here. Ooh, I'm using my hands to lift my legs up. I'm bringing them in. And I'm just going to use my windshield wiper legs just to give them some ease. Here we go. So we're going to go back and forth here. Very nice. I see my friends doing the windshield wiper, and they look like they're having fun. Okay. So let's stand up, because we must. There. You can stand up however you like. Oh, feels lovely. So my legs feel very, very beautifully. My legs feel very, very elongated. I feel I've grown several inches stretching my legs out like that. All right. So I'm just standing here. I'm going to do a bit of a jiggle because I'm just up, jiggling. I'm going to jiggle my legs, jiggle my hands, jiggle my shoulders, jiggle my torso. I went to see belly dancers not long ago, and I was marveling at their mobility, thinking, oh, I want to be able to do that. So I might take up belly dancing. It's my new practice, possibly. All right. So let's just stand in Tadasana and feel our whole body. I feel my body tingling. And feel what it's like to imagine ourselves with some creative plot to make change. And I'm reminded of the Vietnamese Buddhist monks, Thich Nhat Hanh, his story about the lotus in the mud, how you can't have a lotus without the mud. So you can't have ease really without going through the mud, or there are other names for it, which I won't bother. Okay, let's do some. I was watching a teacher teach sun salutation, and they reminded me that there are 5 forward bends to every back bend in sun salutation. So by the time you've done a week of sun salutations, basically you've overdone forward bends, and you've underdone back bends. So, so we're just going to do a few standing postures. We won't do sun salutations today. I've done a lot this week, and I'm going to turn my front foot forward, and I'm just here. And I'm edging towards a triangle. So I'm going to just hip swing, hip switch my back hip and draw my front arm down and lift that upper arm up and look up towards it. And here I'm trying to imagine that this space is the same on both sides between your hip and your rib, so that we're not just dropping down here. We're actually reaching out the top body. In fact, you can reach your arms out here and rotate up, or you can put your hand down here, whichever you like. So I'm just looking up here. I'm feeling the stretch, and I'm lifting up my toes, and I'm lifting up the arches of my feet to really make them active. And I'm imagining that the leafy ribs that I have and the leafy spine is allowing me to turn my ribs up towards the sun. And now we're going to come up again. And then now we're just going to go out again and drop down. Same side and looking up. And feeling the liberation of bodily movement and our breath that is inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. And now I'm going to come out again, up, and then I'm turning my foot around, my other foot to the other side. I'm shifting my hips to the side, reaching out, dropping my hand down, and reaching that top arm up and looking up. Pressing my feet into the ground, especially the outer edge of my back foot, and lifting my arches up. And again. And turn my feet the other way. Press I'm making it a bit wider, it's a bit narrow there. Pressing my knee to 45 degrees, feeling once again the outer edge of my back foot, feeling these thighs rolling around. And I'm just going to stand here for a moment and really feeling the power of this pose. This is a warrior pose, this is what we need. Also stretching my fingers out. Give myself a little movement here. And now I'm going to stretch right over and go into this lovely side movement. And I've got my hand on my sacrum so that I can feel the stretch of my chest up. And once again, this knee is over top, front knee is over top of your foot. But you are moving in 2 different directions, at least, if not more. And we're breathing here. And now I'm pressing back, turning my feet in the other way, and pressing my front knee over top of my toes and stretching my arms out and really feeling myself sinking down and down and down. But this back leg, you want to press your thigh back to keep your knee straight in the back. So I'm just breathing. I'm working hard in these standing poses. I'm just breathing like a train. So I have to steady my breath, even my breath. And now I'm stretching that front arm out, dropping my forearm down and lifting that top arm over and looking up. And once again, you can put your hand on your sacrum and feel the turn of your chest that way, or you can stretch it out on top. And you can, of course, have your hand lowered onto the floor behind you or onto a block. And that's up to you. Good. Now on this side, I'm going to turn and, no, I'm not going to do that. Okay, I'm just going to, sorry, that was a mistake. I'm going to come up, come back, and then we're going to go down a bit. We've already done some nice wide-legged poses on the floor, but we're going to come down here and really feel a lovely rest. I'm walking my hands back with my fingers facing forward. And I'm once again stretching my thighs back, pressing into the outer edges of my feet, and just letting my head hang down. There's no pressure here. And you can also just stretch your arms out in front of you and really feel this allows you to stretch your hamstrings a little bit differently. It's quite a lovely pose. And you can walk over to one side and hold on to your ankle or wherever you are in the pose. And of course, you're welcome to come up whenever you can. And now we're walking the other way, stretching out, stretching out and holding on to your ankle on the other side. And you can bend your elbows and draw yourself towards that leg. Now, there shouldn't be a lot of angst at the location where your hamstring meets your hip bone. All right, because you don't want to overstrain those tendons. Now I'm pressing into my hands here, and I've got a flat back, I think, and my neck is relaxed. And I'm just finding that I can kind of do a little bit of a pelvic tilt here and get a little bit of a different stretch in my legs by pressing those thighs back. Good. And now we can wiggle our feet in a little bit so that we're a bit more balanced. Put our arms by our ears straight out, or we can put our hands on our hip. So we can come up like this, or with our hands on our hip, whichever feels better for you. Good. So that's a lovely thing. Now, we're going to do just a couple more movements here. I said it was going to be 45 minutes, so I think I lied a little bit. It might be more like an hour, but we're just going to do one pose here, and then we will go down to the floor. So I'm turning towards, I have this is a narrow step forward, fairly narrow, not the wide one of Warrior 2. And I'm rotating my hips to face my front foot. And I'm coming down in pyramid with a straight back. And I'm just balancing here. I've got a lot of squishy mats under me, so it's difficult to find my balance here. It's like being on one of those squishy balls and standing. But it's good for your balance, actually, to do this, to keep balancing this way. And I'm pulling the front hip back while I'm doing this. And now I'm going to fall forward and just allow myself to feel this. You can have blocks here, one block on each side to keep you upright if that's too difficult. And now I'm going to put my hand here, and in this case I'm using a block. This one has been ravaged by my puppy, but still here. And I'm rotating in this reverse triangle towards the back wall. And I'm pulling that front hip back. And now I am going to rotate up towards the front. And I'm going to do that to the other side. And by then I should be sufficiently exhausted. All right. I don't know why my legs are very sore today. It's because I did a lot of movement yesterday. Okay, here we go. Down here, we're going to go, once again, we're on the other side. We're moving over top of our front leg with a straight back. And then we're going to curve over it, pressing into the back heel. And I'm lifting my toes up in the front here and drawing my front hip back. Now I'm going to put the block down beside my foot, press my hand into it, and I'm stretching up to the other side. And I'm breathing here. Doing this very slowly is actually quite demanding, and I'm trying to open my chest up towards the back, so you'll feel some movement with your breath. We'll have 2 more breaths here. Inhale. And inhale. And now I'm going to rotate up. Good work. All right, now we're just going to roll our body down to the floor, and we're going to walk our hands forward, and we're going to go onto our stomach just for a moment. And we're stretching our arms out beside us with our palms up, so that we're going to just lift our shoulders up and then our head up. And then we're going to come down, lift our shoulders up, and then our head up. And we're coming down. And this time we're going to lift our arms up. So we're lifting our shoulders up, our head up, and our arms. And we're just staying here and breathing for a minute. And then we're going to come down. This time we're going to lift our legs up as well. Your legs might not come up very far, but that's all right. It's more attention to the core here. So we're lifting up again in our back body. So 1, 2, 3. Lift everything up. And inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling and down. Good. We're going to press our hands into the floor, come up into a cobra and an upward dog, pressing our feet into the ground. And then we're going to put our knees down and come back into child's pose. And now we're going to move onto our back. Now, you can put your feet up the wall if you like, or you just lay on your back and put your feet up here. So we have a little bit of an inversion. Now, if you have congenital heart conditions and things like that, you have to be very careful of these inversions. But otherwise, they're very good for you. And you can, in fact, be beside a wall if you like, or in the center of the room. And we're just going to take a moment here. Feel that leafy body that we have is just at rest. And you can let your feet go. You can rotate your ankles here and point your toe, stretch your heels out, point your toe, stretch your heels out, and move around and around. Good. Now we're going to just bend our knees and bring them down. And I'm going to just extend my arms out, flop my legs, my knees from one side to the other, briefly. And in this going back and forth, I'm putting up the fronts of my thighs, and I'm providing some ease for my legs that have been stretched today. Now I'm going to just lift my left leg up, hook your ankle into that hollow in your knee, and then draw that leg back. And you can lift your whole torso up and try and reach your forehead to your ankle, which is impossible for me, but that's the goal. So we're doing a little bit of the curvature of the spine is heading in the front bend, heading towards the front. And now we're going to come down. I'm going to just alternate the legs here. And once again, I'm pulling on either the back of the thigh or your shin. And the object of this is to really open up your hip here. So you could put your hand here. You don't want to put too much pressure on it, but just to remind your hip that it's your knee is moving out while your ankle is moving in. And then we're going to put our feet down. Good. Now you can find your Shavasana where it lies. It may be with your feet up the wall. Maybe you're on your stomach. It may be that you are sitting in a chair at this point because you've had enough of being on the floor and you're just resting in a chair with your axial elongation in your spine. We feel that at this point, I feel my leafy body is sinking into a soft, muddy ground. And maybe I am that lotus in Thich Nhat Hanh's story at this point, where you can't have the lotus without the mud. You can't have the ease and the comfort without going through the hard stories. And we're inhaling and exhaling here. You can turn your head towards one way, and you can turn it towards the other way. And then you can center your head on the floor. You can drop your chin slightly. You can feel your ribs easing down your body. And you can feel the tension in your fingers and your toes relax. You can allow your forearms to relax and your upper arm and your shoulders, your hands, your fingers, your ears. You can feel the skin on your face sliding down as though that leafy green is just at ease. Feel the lines on your forehead giving way. You can feel your tongue drop into your lower jaw, your lips slightly parted. Your torso is just settling into the ground. Your hips, your waist, your back ribs. And And I'll just leave you in silence for a moment or two. And I'll just read a short poem by the Métis poet who lives in Alberta, Marilyn Dumont. And this is about, I think, reciprocity and relation that gets us through things. Rich in horses. We had snow horses and we had saw horses, both melted. We had stuffed horses and we had stick horses, they decayed. We had skid horses and we had mules, both became obsolete. We rode saddle horses and some of us rode broncs. There were horses in our eyes, but more in our heads. We had stories and bet on horses, and sometimes they became one. We had many horses, but never owned one. We had bold horses, and we had silent ones. We had hunters, saddle, and pack horses. We rose small, swift buffalo runners, and drove lumbering Belgian skid horses. We had many horses, but never owned one. We rose horses, and they raised us. And with that, I'll invite you to stretch your toes, stretch your hands, and in your own time, you can draw your knees into your chest. Move onto your side and push yourself up to a seated position. We rose horses and they raised us. And I think about teaching when I think about this, how we teach others and they teach us. I'm going to just thank you for being here this morning. Deep bows to you. And I will see you soon.